thing is, George Lucas doesn't have the firmest grip on reality. I mean, based on Star Wars, he thinks that you can farm moisture and mine clouds. Like, I just not get agriculture, and he doesn't get drugs either. I don't like drugs, I try and avoid drugs if I can help it, but I would avoid, here's the thing. If you go up to somebody who cares for you and you say, hey, I'm thinking about taking drugs. And they say, oh, what's the drug? What's it called? Death sticks. Don't take that. It's like no one's going to call heroin like devil jizz. Like, you've got to keep that service if you want to sell any units. When you kill a Jedi, they come back as a ghost. A Force ghost. It's like a regular ghost, but they're a bit more assertive. And a Force ghost can go anywhere, do anything, be anywhere. And that really freaks me out. For a while I was like, that's a real problem. What if you're trying to have sex? Yeah? And your mentor, your Jedi Master who's died, just drifts into the room and just watches you doing it. You can't stop him, he's a Force ghost. But then I realised he would never do that, you know? He's Qui-Gon Jinn, not Qui-Gon Jizz. Cool, alright. Just figure out what kind of crowd we're dealing with. Cool, okay, I'll tell you what, I've got some non-Star Wars material. Scooby-Doo. I want to talk for a second about Scooby-Doo, okay? Scooby-Doo is ostensibly a show named after a dog that can say its own name in a vaguely human voice. That's the selling point. That's it. That's all Scooby-Doo can do. That's it. That's all the dog can do. Meanwhile, it is traveling around with 4 teenage detectives who every week foil a criminal whose interests are primarily molestation-based. And they're operating out of like abandoned theme parks, and they have a 100% success rate. My dad was a detective for many years, and I asked him how many cases you solve as a detective, percentage-wise. 6%! Yeah, the kids from Scooby-Doo have a 100% success rate, and the show isn't named after them, oh no. It's named after the dog. That's like calling Star Wars Chewbacca. Chewbacca. That's okay, cool. I was really cool. Let's just put some Star Wars in here. Here we go. I was doing some research on Jar Jar Binks, and it turns out the voice actor who voiced Jar Jar Binks is called Ahmed Best. That's his name, which is ironic because Jar Jar Binks is the Ahmed worst. Hey! So, I was looking at his resume because I wanted to find out how much work somebody like as hated as him would actually get after doing a film like The Phantom Menace. And I did some research, and it turns out not much. His resume is pretty thin on the ground. Because the thing is, it's really hard to bag those big voiceover ad campaigns like a big Subway commercial or whatever if you did Jar Jar Binks. And even if you got the ad, you'd be in the recording studio going, do you also want a meatball sub? Ooh! And they're like, so just stop, just fucking stop. Oh mate, you have to stop. But miss, I'm not gonna make it right now! Ooh! And later on that night, he slowly raises a revolver to his mouth. Okay, no, don't be hypocrites, you hate him! You all hate him! That was pretty dark. Okay, let's go with something lighter. The Death Star. Oh, it's okay, we destroyed it. That's pretty good, right? I mean, it's essentially an act of terrorism, but it's still pretty good. It was state-funded. We destroyed it. That's cool. But the destruction of the Death Star, of course, was a mixed bag because lots of really great people died. Lots of really good rebel troops died that day, and Mon Mothma died. Yeah, Mon Mothma died when the Death Star was destroyed. Because she saw the light generated by the explosion, and true to her name, jumped out an airlock and started flying towards her. Mothma. That's the joke. I actually realised why the Death Star scene in the original Star Wars resonated with me so much when I was a kid. I always identified with it, and I couldn't figure out why I enjoyed that one sequence so much where the Rogue Squadron strays the Death Star. And then I realised the entire thing is a really specific allegory for trying to get laid as a teenager. Seriously, you get a bunch of young men planning in private on how to nail this one really specific thing. You've got like this room with a one-eyed monster in it at one point. You've got Luke really strenuously practicing on womp rats back home. You've got a small thermal exhaust port right below the main port. Admiral Akbar, what a dickhead. Admiral Akbar, by the way, is that guy with the big fishy kind of red lobster head. He's basically a lobster in a linen suit, okay? And he is part of a species called Mon Calamari. Seriously, it's on Wikipedia and everything. Like, he's a Mon Calamari, which sounds less like a name of a Star Wars species and more like a Jamaican seafood restaurant. I always like to end my sets on a kind of note, so let's I hope you had a great Star Wars day, guys. Thank you so much.